Welcome to the whatever.
The Ride or Die Podcast.
Yeah,
Say it.
the Ride or Die podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Now I wasn't gonna do a podcast. I was gonna take a little hiatus on us, and my thing keeps. Let me see if I can fix this. Oh, there we go. I wasn't gonna do a podcast for a while because I got some things, and I'm doing a little bit of moving in a sense. But I wasn't gonna do a podcast for a while. I'm focusing on some other things in my life, and I was at jiu-jitsu yesterday, and my buddy Landon showed up, and we talked about, after class, he came up to me and goes, "Hey man, I enjoy your podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you. It's really good to hear." And I'm like, "I haven't done a podcast in like a month. I think the beginning of this month, was the last time I did a podcast. So I've definitely been not doing it that much." But then he did something that was very unexpected. He thanked me. He goes, "I appreciate you making yourself vulnerable." And I don't like making myself vulnerable. I just don't. I'm a very hard headed, and I just I don't look at myself doing this podcast as like I'm being vulnerable. But my buddy, he looks at it differently. What he sees me doing is something that he appreciates, and I thought that was really cool. He looks at it differently than when I look at it, and I never really thought that people would look at me doing this and looking at a different sense of what it is. And it definitely appreciate him for doing that, because I wasn't going to do a podcast. I was going to tear all this stuff down and move it. And I was like, well, before I do that, I'm going to do a podcast. And my topic on doing this podcast is doing things for others. There's a lot of ways and things and whatever you can do for others. But you can pick up the lunch bill. I believe in chivalry, so opening the door for people and helping out here and there, giving rides. But what's hard about doing things for others when it's not on your terms? And I got this story that I'm embarrassed about. Oh, excuse me, I just burped. Well, this story I'm embarrassed about how I acted at the beginning of the story. But at the end of the story, this is probably one of my greatest memories I've ever had, and it's kind of unbelievable. I think well, let me just get to it. So in 2019, my family went down to I think it was during Sturgis, so it was about 2 years ago at this time. We went down to Sturgis Rally. Something I haven't got to go in a while, but my whole family definitely takes a trip down there during that because there's a lot of stuff to do down in the Black Hills area. And my uncle Wayne was there, and he lives in California, and I haven't seen him in a while. And we all go up to this thing called the Devil's Bathtub, and it's just a fun little hike, and it takes about 45 minutes. If you're youthful, a little bit longer, maybe an hour if you're a little bit slower. But so we all went up there, and at the top of this hike, there's a river. There's a river that comes all the way down this hike. It's a downhill river, so you're walking uphill the whole time. And there's this natural made water slide, and it's called Devil's Bathtub for a reason, because you slide down this little water slide, and then you fall into this little pond, and then the pond goes down the rest of the hill. And there's always a bunch of people. It's always packed, and there's just a line of people. And I didn't go down that slide to that time because the water's cold, and there's not a lot of meat to me, so I don't like cold water. But my uncle Wayne went down, my little girl went down, the gal I was seeing at the time went down. A bunch of people, went and did it, and it's just a lot of fun. So we all get back down, and we're driving back, and my uncle Wayne's like, "I lost my wedding ring." So I was like, "Oh, well, that stinks." He's pretty upset, and I guess I didn't understand the gravity of the situation he was in, because he lost his wedding ring. That's a symbol of some people's love. So I was like, I didn't get it, but I was kind of annoyed about how he was acting. So we get back to the cabin, and my mom's like, "Hey Matthew, in the morning, will you go with me and Uncle Wayne back up to the Devil's Bathtub and look for his ring?" And I was like, sure, like why not? It's a 45-minute drive there, and then 45-minute hike up there, and So I was like, yes, I'll do that. As annoyed as I was and how much I didn't want to do it, I did it. So the next morning, my mom, my uncle, the girl I was seeing, and me get up and we start driving. And my Uncle Wayne is he's very upset, which right now I understood, but at the time I was very annoyed at how he was acting. And he's driving fast, and I'm like, Uncle Wayne, slow down. If you get pulled over, it's going to take longer. Then he says, he's upset. So he's like, I'll get all the speeding tickets in the world. I'm like, yeah, but you get speeding tickets, it's going to take us longer to get there. So take our time. We'll get up there. And me thinking, I'm like, there's no way we're going to find this ring. There's no way. There were so many people there, and it's such a big area. And my Uncle Wayne's like, I know where it's at. I'm like, okay. So we get to the start of the hike, and me and the gal I was seeing, we walked up there, and so we get up there first, and we get up there about 15 minutes before my uncle and my mom show up. So I'm walking around the water, and the water is just freezing cold, and it's 7 a.m, and sun's just kind of coming up, and I'm like, I look at the girl I'm seeing, I'm like, there's no way we're gonna find this. There's absolutely no way. Like, there's such a big space, we don't even know it's here. It could be down wherever. And I'm walking around, I'm like, there's just no way. The current is too strong. There were so many people here yesterday, and so I'm kind of just trying to stay out of the water, looking for it, not really putting a good effort in because I was just annoyed to be in there. So my Uncle Wayne gets up there, and he throws on his goggles, and he dives in. He's looking, and I'm just watching him, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way we're going to find this ring. There's so many rocks. It could be under a rock. Someone could have found it. There's no way we could have found it. We're going to find it. But now I see him swimming in the same spot, basically right where the slide hits, and there's a big current, and he's trying to swim down, and he comes up, and he goes, I see something. I don't know what it is, but I see something. And he's trying, and finally, I can see him struggling. I'm like, Uncle Wayne, let me look. So he gets out. I put my goggles on, and I dive in, and I kind of just put my head under the water, kind of looking, and no crap, on this flat rock right at the bottom of the slide, there's his ring right in the middle of this rock. And I'm just thinking, there's no effing way it's right there. Because all I'm thinking to myself, like, when I went down that slide, I hit the bottom of it, and there's so many people there. The fact that it was sitting just right there, right in the middle of everything, right at the top, like where, you got the current, and you can feel the current, and right below that current was his ring. And it just still blows my mind. Like, when I saw it, my eyes blew up. I'm like, there's no way. So I come up and I look at Uncle Wayne. I'm like, I see it. And he was just in tears, like, oh my God, like, that's like, get it for me. And I'm like, okay. So there's actually a fairly big current right there. So I dive down and I kick, and I'm putting my feet on the rocks, and it's about a 7-foot drop deep, 6 foot maybe deep. So I'm putting my feet on the rocks upside down, trying to, beat this current, and I grab it, and then the current grabs it, and I'm literally fighting this current, trying to grab the ring, and I grab it, I put it on my finger, and I came up, and my uncle literally dropped in tears. He's like, thank you so much. And the story is amazing to me. For one, the people I was with. Two, I made it a bad situation, and it became one of my favorite memories of my life. And I'm so glad I was there, and I'm so glad my mom asked me to help out, because I would not have taken the time. I would not have been there, and I would not have this story to tell with you guys. And it's still one of my favorite stories ever, because in my mind, it's unbelievable. I'm a person that believes in a little bit higher being, and not a little bit. I definitely believe in a higher being. And from what I know of that area and how much traffic goes through it and how many people were there when we left, for that rock to be hanging out right there on that flat rock right in the middle is it's still unbelievable to me. It's still, and there's a really good picture of my mom took a picture of my uncle hugging me, and it's definitely just one of my favorite memories. And I would never got that memory if I would never took the time to help out. So what I'm saying is, even if you don't want to do it, and you feel really annoyed of helping out, do it anyways. Helping out people is such a blessing, because you're literally helping somebody. There's no better gift you can give anybody besides helping them. And it can be something small, it can be something big, but you don't know the gratitude that they have for you unless you do it. So that's where I learned from that situation, that memory, and that memory is going to be in my heart for the rest of my life. Is people I was with, the situation. It was just, I'm very blessed that I could be part of that situation. So besides doing things, I'm going to talk about gifts. Now, I have a lot of cool stuff, and the more older I get, like, I don't feel like buying stuff is as important as making stuff. Literally doing something as a present. And there's a couple things, like, I got these paintings, and like, this person's not in my life anymore, but this person took the time and took hours and had me on their mind, and they made me these really cool creations, and I can't get rid of them because that time was meant for me, and it's something you can't replace. I can't just go buy that. All these other things I can just go buy. I can't buy these paintings. I can't buy things other people have made for me, and that's why they're so close to my heart. And there's I was at the bar one time, my dad's bar in Dickinson, and one of the customers opened up his wallet, and this wallet is just raggedy. And I'm like, man, dude, you need to get a new wallet. And he goes, I can't. Someone made me this wallet. And I totally got it. When someone makes you something, it means a lot. Someone to literally sit down and design and create and have you on their mind the whole time they do it. That's something you can't replace, right? You can't replace the thoughts they had for you. You can't replace the time they had for you, and you can't replace easily the stuff that they did for you. Because even though I could go find this picture and print it out on a canvas, and is it the same? Absolutely not, because I just paid for that. You can't pay for the things. I got these two, and I got some other stuff like me and my daughter made. Like, you can't replace those memories. And that's why from now on, I'm not going to really buy things for others. I'm going to try to do paintings. I've really been getting into painting lately. And I think doing something as in, like, just painting, like, okay, I'm a painter. I guess I'm becoming a painter. Like, someone called me an artist the other day, and I don't really think I'm an artist, but I do like putting color on things. That's why I really enjoy this Cerakote business that I'm doing, where I'll take, it's mostly firearms, but I'll take someone's firearm and I'll, basically refinish it and do some cool designs, colors, and like the gratitude I've gotten for just giving these back, like their eyes open up, like, oh man, this is awesome. They get excited, and like, I'm gonna get more business your way. The little conversations that come my way, even though I don't do it that much, the time I put into it and the fact that I get scared that they're not gonna like it, and when they love it, it makes this process so much more worthwhile. Like, I love it. I just love it. I love doing things like this. And the last couple of years, I very much realized that creating things for others is way better than buying things. And I'm going to take that to heart. And like, my buddy just bought a new house, so I'm going to get a big canvas, and I'm going to design something. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I told him I'm going to make a painting for his house. But yeah, this is my podcast. It's short. Do things for others, even if it's something small or something big. Help out. It'll give you better memories. I believe it's given me better memories, at least, just helping out and people doing things for me. It's worth your time. Create stuff, man. I love it. But I'm gonna leave you guys at that. So train hard, do good, be kind. Peace.